Are you in a toxic relationship? Here's how to know. Did you know that most people in toxic relationships don't even realize that they're in one until it's too late? The signs are there: gaslighting, control, emotional manipulation, but they're easy to overlook when you love someone. All right, we've all seen it in the movies and on TV. We've been on the other end of the screen yelling, "Get away! Don't trust them." But when it comes to our own lives, a lot of times it's easier said than done. Today, we are breaking down the hidden red flags of toxic relationships, how abuse shows up in different forms, and most importantly, how to take back your power. My name is Nicole Brittany, author and empowerment coach, and this is the Self Mastery Podcast, where we talk about healing, we talk about empowerment, we talk about the tough issues, and we talk about reclaiming your confidence after abuse. This is a subject that the world needs more guidance on. If you've ever questioned whether a relationship was healthy or borderline toxic, this episode is for you. So let's start with the basics. What makes a relationship toxic? And we've really got to break this down because I know that this is a word that has been overused, misused, blown out of proportion. We hear it all the time. And it's not just about arguing. Oh, I don't agree with you, so now you're toxic. Or you didn't do what I wanted you to do, so now you're toxic. No, every relationship experiences differences and challenges. Toxic relationship, on the other hand, is one where there's a pattern of control, of manipulation, and of emotional harm. All right, this could look a lot of ways. It could look like gaslighting. It could look like constantly being criticized. This could be controlling behavior. It could be love bombing, followed by the silent treatment. The list goes on. One of the most damaging tactics in toxic relationships is gaslighting. And this is when someone manipulates you into questioning your own reality. So, have you ever shared how you felt with someone just to be told that didn't even happen that way? Or you're being way too sensitive, or you're blowing this out of proportion? That's gaslight. And if you've ever experienced it, it's easy to recognize. Mentally, it can really make you question yourself. It makes you question yourself on a level that you usually would. And again, this isn't something where I experienced it once, so I'm in a toxic relationship. No, but if there's a pattern of this, if it's happening over and over again, there's this part of you that wants to be validated when you share a vulnerability with your partner. You want them to hear you. All right. And we've got to take that into account on our end too. If someone says, "Hey, this is my experience," the best thing that you can do as a lover is to just hear them out. So here's the thing: none of these traits that I mentioned are just exclusive to romantic relationships. So toxicity, it can exist in all kinds of relationships. It can exist in friendships. It can exist in family relationships. It can even exist in the workplace. If someone that you're around is constantly making you feel small, making you feel uncertain, making you feel like your voice doesn't matter, you want to pay attention to this. If it's happening over and over and over again, that's what we would identify as a pattern. That's a red flag that you want to look into. Toxic relationships don't just hurt in the moment, they leave lasting impressions. And I just wrote an article on this. It's titled "Trust Yourself Again." Nearly 50% of people in toxic relationships experience long-term anxiety, depression, self-doubt. Psychological abuse can be just as harmful as physical abuse. I remember speaking with a woman who came to me for advising, and she had just left a controlling relationship. She was starting to get back to herself. And she said to me, "Nicole, I didn't even recognize myself. The woman that you saw a few months ago, that wasn't me." She was so used to apologizing for things that weren't her fault. She became just this smaller version of herself. And she internalized this. She began to view herself differently from the eyes of her abuser. So you see how damaging this can be. It took her months to come back to herself. So many of us have been there. If this sounds familiar, let me know in the comments what's something that you realized after leaving a toxic relationship. I will never bring a problem to these conversations if I do not have a solution for you. How do you break free from toxic cycles of abuse? Well, it starts with awareness. All right. Some of the reflection that we just did is perfect modeling of what you want to do in your own life. Awareness on its own is not enough. You have to take action. So, I'm going to give you a few of the steps that I would have taken early on to start reclaiming my power, to start reframing my thoughts, and getting back to myself. First, you need to recognize the pattern. So I'm really encourage you on this one to take some time out to journal your thoughts. It'll help you process and come to terms with what you've written down and with your perspective. It will help you to address the situation more realistically. All right. I really think that it's important for you to see in your own words what you are perceiving, what you are going through. Next, it's time for you to set some boundaries. And I mean boundaries that you can really hold yourself to. Think about the situations that are coming up in your relationship. Think about how you're being tested. Think about your ideal reaction to those situations and write that out. That creates a blueprint for you. So when you are in an emotional situation, you have something to look back on to help guide you. Next, this one's important. Surround yourself with love. Surround yourself with empowerment. Do not just scroll on social media and do things that aren't empowering you. It's very important if you are consistently hearing negativity for you to take time within your life to change the narrative. So engage in activities, engage in friendships, engage in social media that empowers and uplifts you at this time. I want you to walk away from today's episode knowing this. You're not crazy. You are not too much. You're not making things up in your head. If you feel this way, it's for a reason. Look into it. If something feels off, trust yourself. Healing takes time, but just trust that every step that you take towards the healing process really counts. Thank you so much for watching.